So let's go ahead and start with District 10-6A. So 10-6A, it should be the very first one. Let's see if it's not. Okay. 10-6A. So this is our big schools. This is the schools with Tyler Legacy and Longview. And you'll see that it's not much different. It's basically the same districts. You got Longview and Tyler Legacy in there. Then you have Forney, Mesquite Horn, North Forney, Rockwall Heath, and Roy City. Colton, I think Mesquite Horn is the only school that was added in there. I think after last year, all those other schools were already in that district.
This is the same district, just adding Mesquite Horn. This was a 7-team district last year. Every team in here was the same, minus Mesquite Horn.
Okay, so what do you think about this? What do you think about this district overall? Obviously, it's almost the same district we had last year.
Yeah, I mean
it's going to be competitive. I think
it's going to be very competitive. Last year, North Forney, Rockwall Heath, and Forney were all 4-1 in the district. So that's 3 of the 4 playoff spots were all 4-1. And then Rockwall had some big wins last year. Last year they had the big win over North Crawley.
Well, you remember those, just as a reminder, I don't think those standings are completely updated by the end of the season.
Okay.
But
I got you. But still, a very competitive district, very competitive teams that, and you haven't even talked about our teams in Longview and Tyler Legacy. So from top to bottom, and I don't know exactly what Mesquite Horn did at last year, but adding another team to this already loaded district, making this an 8-team district, it's very, very stacked.
So we're going to go out of order here for a second because KTRE Sports Director Ryan Smith is in Kilgore, and he is standing by, it looks like, with a man, a myth, and a legend, Gilmer Buckeye head football coach Alan Metzel. Ryan, go ahead and take it away and tell us what you got there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kyle, out here in Kilgore for UIL Realignment. My first one, so super duper excited here, and I'm here with, like you said, head coach of the Gilmer Buckeyes, Mr. Alan Metzel. Gilmer moving districts to 4A D2, Region 2, District 8, alongside of Carthage as well. We'll talk with Coach Surratt here in a little bit. But Coach Metzel, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. Excited. It's always you feel the tension, you feel the electricity in the room when you're waiting to open the box and so forth. So big day.
Yeah, Coach is clearing out a little bit here, but man, when I got here, it was absolutely packed. Obviously, like I said, you guys moving districts here. Just talk about this new district that you guys are in, especially with, the reigning 4A D2 state champions in Carthage being a part of this as well.
Well, obviously, very challenging. Some of the best teams in East Texas, or actually some of the best teams in the state of Texas, will all be in our district. And so, back in 2012, 13, we were at part of a district of doom back then where every week was a challenging week, and it'll be that way this time. And we're excited, and it'll make us be better, and it'll make them be better, and it'll be great football for East Texas. I know that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a little bit of a district of doom here. Some of the teams in this district, obviously Carthage, Center, you guys in Gilmer, Spring Hill, Pittsburgh, and Pleasant Grove. So a really tough district for these next couple of seasons. But moving to sort of the non-district schedule, talk about what you guys are sort of looking for in this non-district, getting y'all prepared for a really tough district play.
Well, we play challenging we play challenging preseason every year, and this year will be no different. And a handful of them will be Division 1, 4A, and so those guys are what tune you up for the games that matter. And so we're grateful to be able to fill those slots and be exciting football.
Yeah, is that always kind of what you guys look for? Maybe a step up, a division up, maybe going into 5A, D2, just looking for any way to make it just about as difficult to kind of not take a step back whenever you guys do get into district play?
Absolutely. You want to play people that are going to show you where your weaknesses are, what you've got to fix, so that you're not waiting till the playoffs to find that out. And so we definitely have teams that'll be very formidable, and it'll be good. We'll learn.
Well, perfect. That's all I've got for you, Coach. That's Alan Metzel with the Gilmer Buckeyes. Guys, it's going to be a long day here in Kilgore, and super excited to get to talk with some of these other coaches. Thank you again, Coach. Really do appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much to Ryan Smith, talking to head coach Alan Metzel. I understand we got Coach Surratt standing by, so we'll get over to him momentarily. But let's go through that district real quick, Colton. It is District 8, 4A Division 2. So 8, 4A Division 2. And this is loaded. This is a contender for District of Doom next year. You have the defending state champs, the Carthage Bulldogs. You have Center, Gilmer, Spring Hill, Pittsburgh, and Pleasant Grove. So 3 state contenders in this district all together. I mean, this is going to be loaded top to bottom, Colton.
Yeah, it really is. You take a look at this, and my initial thought is you have some great storylines here. Obviously, you have Carthage. Say less. Carthage. You have Center, first-year head coach there, Jack Alvarez, coming out of retirement, and his son Brandon joining him from Garrison over at Center. You have Gilmer and. We just talked to Coach Metzel and, the prestige that, Gilmer historically has. Spring Hill, who, they're no slouch. You have Spring Hill Panthers.
They improved last year.
They did.
In Pittsburgh.
They were one of our surprise teams last year under first-year head coach as well. And then Pleasant Grove.
New head coach.
Who's going to have a new head coach after Josh Gibson left. And, they're not East Texas per se, not a team we usually cover, but Texarkana. And they have quite a history as well. And then you look at the history between those top 2 teams on the top team and the bottom team on that graphic, Carthage and Pleasant Grove.
I mean, all 3 of those, Carthage and Gilmer have played in state not too long ago. Yeah. You have Carthage and Gilmer had that epic playoff game a few years back at Rose Stadium. Carthage and Pleasant Grove have played the last 3 years in the playoffs. Now we'll get to see it in district and possibly in the playoffs again. So twice a year now, and you could potentially see Carthage Gilmer and Carthage Pleasant Grove twice next year. And,
you talk about what they saw in the playoffs. Was it Carthage and Pittsburgh? Wasn't that round 1?
And that was a good game.
And that was a good game.
Pittsburgh gave them a run.
Right.
Yeah. So Ryan Smith is still out there in Kilgore, and now he has a man with 11 rings, 11 state championship rings. It's the GOAT of East Texas, Scott Surratt. Ryan, go ahead and take it away.
No, you're absolutely right, Kyle. Kyle referred to you as the GOAT of East Texas, the GOAT really of Texas high school football. 11 rings, Coach Surratt. It's a pleasure. Appreciate you hanging out with us, talking realignment. You guys moving to a new district in 4A D2, Region 2, District 8. Gilmer being a part of that alongside teams like Spring Hill, Pittsburgh, Pleasant Grove, and Center, which team you already had faced in district play. Talk about this new district for you guys and kind of your reaction to it.
Yeah, it's a loaded district, and, very excited about it. You got great coaches in there, and, Gilmer's going to be loaded. Coach Metzel and his coach staff do a great job, and then obviously Pleasant Grove's a really good program, and Coach Darby will do a great job there, and then Center with Jack Alvarez, a phenomenal coach. Kids are going to play unbelievably hard. And then Spring Hill, Coach Pitch, Spring Hill is playing those guys, and then Pittsburgh, Huff did a great job. Coach Huff did a great job turning those guys around in 1 year. So it'll be very competitive, be fun, be great Friday night atmosphere.
Absolutely, it's going to be loaded district, but moving to the non-district for you guys, I know for a team of Carthage's stature can be a little bit difficult to try and schedule some non-district games to try and get you guys ready for a district season. How has that kind of gone for you guys so far?
We're still looking for 4 games. We're going to leave here looking for 4 games. We're going to get on the phone and see what happens. And unfortunately, we're probably going to have to travel. And it is what it is. At least everybody's not calling us. Is the way I look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you look for some of these non-district teams, obviously, like I said, with your stats, you're kind of looking to see, going to have to probably end up traveling, but what are you looking for in some of these teams that you want to face in non-district to get you prepared for district play?
Well, we'd like to play some of the better programs here around us, whether it's 5A, 4A, whatever, but, that hadn't worked out. Henderson, we're playing week 1, and after that, we don't know. So, like I said, we got to get on the horn and find games.
Absolutely. That's all I've got for you, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time. Coach Scott Surratt with Carthage. Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, so the GOAT of Texas high school football there, Scott Surratt. He had some it's interesting. We talk about this every year with Carthage. They struggle to find non-district games. Nobody wants to play Carthage.
Right. I mean, and you especially struggle to find them here in East Texas.
Yeah. And he's talking about playing good programs, which there are plenty of good programs in East Texas, but how many of those programs want to go up against Carthage in non-district? Because say you do get blown out, then what does that do for the confidence of the team?
Right.
So, but I think it's going to be some good things there. So let's go ahead and jump back up to 5A while we wait for Ryan to see if he can grab some more coaches there. Ton of coaches in Kilgore over there. So let's see. Go back up to 5A Division I. Hannah, we're going to go to 7 5A Division I. Now, this is Tyler High's new district, and it is new. These are completely new teams from last year. You have the Tyler High Lions. Then you have Crandall, 3 Dallas teams, Dallas Adams, Dallas Sunset, and Dallas White, and then 3 Mesquite teams, Mesquite, North Mesquite, and West Mesquite. So different opponents this year, or for the next 2 years, for Coach Woods and the Tyler High Lions, Colton.
Yeah, they're moving out of that district with Highland Park, Red Oak, Midlothian, Burleson, Centennial. It's still driving to the Dallas area, but it doesn't look like it's as much, if that makes any sense.
I think it's just 20 driving.
Yeah, because you have Crandall, and then all 3 Mesquites are right there on 20, and then, it looks like it's a better drive to Dallas than the drive to Dallas they had last year.
Yeah.
So travel, I don't think should be as much as an issue for Tyler High, and it's I think a much more competitive district that Tyler's in too, not having to face Midlothian, Highland Park.
Well, I think you're right. I think Tyler High has a very good chance to break that playoff drought and get into the postseason.
Well, they did last year.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes, but to get the rhythm going,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
To really make a run, because this is a very favorable district, in my opinion, for Tyler High not only to get into the playoffs but to be a district champion. That's what I mean, is winning district again. But I think they have a really good chance of getting there. So this, I think this will be a fun.
It'd definitely be fun, and I really like Tyler High's draw here. That's, like I said, more competitive, and you get those teams. You don't have to face the Highland Parks of the world. You don't have to face Red Oak. So
we're going to go – we got Ryan Smith is standing by with another head coach down there, and it's Deep East Texas. It's KTRE land. It's the St. Augustine Wolves, who had a great year last season. And head coach Torrey Barnes is standing by with Ryan Smith. So let's go ahead and throw it over to him in Kilgore.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. A great season for St. Augustine this past year, winning district and staying in the same district with teams like Garrison, Hemphill, Joaquin, of course Joaquin being the state runner-ups, and then Shelbyville and Timpson alongside St. Augustine. Obviously, head coach Torrey Barnes right here. How's it going, Coach? How's your morning been so far?
Going good, man. It's been tough. Gotten dropped by 2 schools since I've been here today, so trying to fill a preseason schedule has been really tough.
Yeah, Coach, and talking about that, obviously, like you said, just got 2 teams dropped. For teams that, perform well in the season, it can be hard to find some of these non-district games. Just talk about what you want to see from some of these non-district games, getting ready for a really tough schedule that I know we talked about all season.
You really try to find a balance. You don't want to play the same style of teams every week. You try to find a couple slot T, wing T teams. You want to play some spread teams. You try to find a balance in between playing really tough teams and some teams that you feel like you can get wins with. And so it's a balance that goes into it, and sometimes it's even tougher when you've had a good season previously. A lot of people don't want to play.
And, talking about this district, like I said, it's the same district that you guys have had, and it's a really tough one with teams like Shelbyville and obviously Joaquin, who just made it all the way to Arlington this past season. Just talk about this district, and obviously the familiarity is really the benefit of it.
I don't know if familiarity makes it a benefit. Tough district. I would say 2A district of doom. Probably the deepest district in 2A across the state. We got 5 really good teams, and every year we're playing for 4 spots. So every year there's a good team that gets left out. This year we won district, and Timpson beat us and didn't make the playoffs. And so really competitive district. Every night you got to bring your A game. If not, you'll be left at home.
No, absolutely, Coach. And, like you said, you had a really great season last year, looking to build off of that, heading into postseason play and things like that. What are you looking for your team going into next season with it? Football season never really ends, but obviously the off season really being fresh here.
Oh, man, it's been good. The kids are excited after making that deep run, and they're excited about the opportunities for next year. They've been working really hard in off season. And, once they get a taste of that deep run in postseason, they continually want it. And now they're working to get even further next year.
That's all I've got, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time. St. Augustine head coach Torrey Barnes, same district as last year, into a D1 Region 3 District 12. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
That's all I've got, guys. Kyle?
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. And, yeah, Colton, let's go ahead and talk about it. Hannah, we can bring up District 12, 2A, Division 1. And The exact same from last year. I think it was 11-2A last year, though. I think they changed the number. But the exact same teams are in it. Garrison, Hemphill, Joaquin, San Augustine, Shelbyville, and Timpson. And Colton, this has kind of been our District of Doom, per se, in 2A, because this has been kind of the class of the district. St. Augustine was a surprise team last year.
Yes, they were.
Made a really good run. Timpson, state champs just a couple of years ago. Garrison's always got a good program. New head coach this year, though, with Brandon Alvarez leaving. Hemphill's going to have a new head coach.
Joaquin.
They have a new head coach, too?
No, I'm just saying.
Joaquin,
yeah. You mean
Joaquin
state
has
finalist.
made exactly. State semifinals the year before, and then state finals last year. Yeah, this district is absolutely loaded. I think it's going to be fun games week in and week out. And we talked about the other district in 4A D2 with Carthage and all them. How I think we'll get 2 matchups a year between these. I think you could see any one of these 6 teams playing each other again in the playoffs.
I mean, because we've seen it the past couple of years of how competitive this district is. I mean, it's they're kind of they're eating their own with kind of beating each other up in district.
Yeah.
But I mean that has obviously proven to be setting them up for nice playoff runs. Each of these teams.
And St. Augustine, won district last year, but the 4 seed Joaquin from 2 years ago made a run all the way to the state semis. So, this district is absolutely loaded. It's going to be fun once again. All right, Hannah, we're going back up to the big schools now. We're going to go over to 9-5A Division 1. So, 9-5A Division 1 over in Region 3. This is where the Lufkin Panthers reside. And, Colton, this one got messy. It did. The Lufkin Panthers. Then you have Baytown Goose Creek Memorial, Baytown Sterling, who was in their district last year, Beaumont United, who was in their district last year, Beaumont Westbrook, who was in the district last year, Galveston Ball, also in the district last year, but 2 new schools, LaPorte and New Caney, and then obviously Port Arthur Memorial, the district champs from a year ago. Colton, this is a massive district.
It is.
And seems like quite a bit of travel, too.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel. And this is a product of Lufkin being the size that it is and the location that it is. This, you just look at this and you can tell there really was nowhere else to put Lufkin unless you put them in the Dallas district in 7-5A D1 with Tyler High, which last year they appealed.
Yeah.
And that's why they ended up in 2 years ago they appealed, and that's when they ended up in 9-5A D1 last realignment. So this is very much we need to put Lufkin somewhere, and this is probably going to be the best outcome.
Yes, I think it is the best outcome. I think they obviously prefer this than going up towards Dallas. But, I mean, these are quality teams. Colton, PA Memorial, undefeated regular season last year, district champs, made a pretty decent run in the playoffs. LaPorte seems to be always a good team. And then all these Beaumont teams and New Caney, this is going to be a tough district, and, I think Coach Absek's going to have his hands full. I think Lufkin can still get in the playoffs. 9-team district, though, means you have 8 district games, 2 non-district.
That's what I was just about to say. 2 district games. You get 2 chances to figure things out before the games really matter. Coaches are going to say every game matters, but these district games mean more than the non-district.
Oh, for sure.
So,
and you only have 2 chances to really kind of practice, if you will. Not scrimmages, but, get things going before the games actually matter.
Yes.
And so that's going to be tough. All right, Hannah, let's move down to Division 2 in 5A. We'll go to District 6 5A Division 2. District 6 5A Division 2. There is some changes in this, Colton, but not massive changes, and I don't think they're bad changes
I don't think so either. You're adding Greenville and Terrell.
Yeah, which Terrell undefeated season in a regular season last year, so that's going to be tough. But you got Hallsville, Marshall, Mount Pleasant, Knack, and White House all in there together. Jacksonville was in this district last year. They've moved out. So now you have Greenville, Terrell, and Texas High still in the district as well. Like you said, adding Greenville and Terrell, I don't know much about Greenville's team, but I know Terrell had a really good football team last year. So, but Mount Pleasant, we talked about with Coach Cluley, they had a really good season last year. Started off a little slow.
They finished with a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and then Marshall, we know with Coach Hammond over there is going to be really good. Nacogdoches, what are they going to do without Coach House this year? White House, new head coach, Coach Gilchrist, who's also being introduced tonight at White House. But yeah, this district's going to be fun to keep up with as well, and it's going to come down to that final week to see who gets in that 4th spot, I think.
Yeah, and that's one that there were a lot of questions on that district and what UIL could possibly do. Could they have split up Texas High and Mount Pleasant and kept them north, or were they going to, keep it the same? And it looks like they decided to keep it the same. And I think that's the good choice, because you had something good with the district these last 2 years, and now Terrell joins in as. They're going to be looking to be district champs, to compete with Texas High.
Terrell and Texas High, think about that matchup. That could become – I mean, there's going to be some good matchups in that district. All right, Hannah, we're going to move on now to 4A Division I, and we're going to go up to 7 4A Division I. We have a couple of East Texas schools in that district. So Maybank got moved out of last year's District of Doom, and now they are up with Sulphur Springs, Caddo Mills, Ferris, Kaufman, Paris, and Waxahachie Life, which kind of feels like the random one.
Yeah, that's one that's kind of a head scratcher looking at it. As far as Sulphur Springs goes, let me speak for Sulphur Springs real quick. This
is a win.
I think so. You're out of the district with Panther Creek and Salina. You don't have to face those two teams every year, and then you add you get placed in with Kaufman, Maybank, Caddo Mills, Paris, Waxahachie Life. Like, I think Sulphur Springs here gets the they benefit from the realignment.
I think this is a win for Sulphur Springs, definitely. I think looking at it now, Kaufman had a good year last year, but looking at it now, I think Sulphur is the odds-on favorite to win this district. Looking at it on paper,
looking right now, yes. On realignment day, they are probably the favorite.
And I think it works out better for Maybank because they are closer to that Dallas area in Kaufman County. So now they don't – I think the travel is actually better as opposed to them having to go to Henderson and Chapel Hill and Kilgore and all that.
I think they would agree. And then they drop out of District of Doom.
That's right.
They don't have to face the Chapel Hills, the Lindells, Kilgores of the world.
All right. Now, speaking of that, let's go to District 8, 4A, Division I. Our previous District of Doom is a strong candidate for District of Doom once again, but we've added a couple of teams. So if you look at last year's district, you had Henderson, Kilgore, Lindell, Pine Tree, Palestine, Chapel Hill all in there with Maybank and –
it was just Maybank. It was a 17 district.
And then now they've added Bullard and Jacksonville. So Bullard moved up from 4A Division II into D1. Jacksonville dropped down from 5A D2 into Division I. And UIL, we talked about this.
These were the logical moves.
This was the logical thing to do, put both of those schools in this district. And, yeah, Bullard and Jacksonville had some down years last year, but Jacksonville for sure is a program that has been there before, been in this district before with these schools. So this one's going to be, it's going to be fun to keep up with. We talk about it every year. There's going to be a team on this screen right now that doesn't make the playoffs that deserves to be in the playoffs. There are just too many stacked teams in this district to get all of them in.
You look at the Henderson team last year. As good as they finished, and for them not to make the playoffs, it's one of those that's very, it comes with the territory of having so many teams in the district that compete.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to keep up with. All right, Hannah, we're going to move over into Region 3 where we have a Deep East Texas school at 9 4A Division I. The Livingston Lions are there in 9 4A Division I. Livingston with Bridge City, Huffman Hargrave, Liberty, Lumberton, Little Cypress, Mauriceville, and Vidor.
This one doesn't change.
It did not change, and Livingston had a rough year last year. I believe they went winless. We'll have to see. Tucker Carter, the head coach down there, he lost the OC. I believe. Now up at White House, Jacob Alford. But
his second year at the program.
Now he's got a culture instilled. I know it didn't go the way he wanted it to, but now he's got something going. But before we continue talking about 4A, we're going to drop down to a 2A division. Our Ryan Smith is still working hard over there. He's the hardest working man in show business today.
Sure
he's
is.
Down there working all the coaches down there in Kilgore. And right now he has Shelbyville head football coach Jared Wallace. Go ahead and take it away, Ryan.
Well, I appreciate the love, Kyle. Arthur behind the camera is also working just as hard, so you gotta have him in there as well. But like you said, here with head coach of the Shelbyville Dragons, Jared Wallace. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing well.
Alrighty, Coach. Like we said, same district as last year. Teams like Joaquin, who obviously made it all the way to the state championship, San Augustine, who just got done talking to Coach Barnes, alongside all the other teams in district that you guys have been seeing for the past couple of years. Just kind of your reaction to things staying sort of stagnant in district play.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would be that way. A lot of great teams in the district. And you look at, like you said, Joaquin and San Augustine, who made it so far. Joaquin going to the state championship, representing our district really well, and it's every year it's been a really tough district. I don't know how many years it is now. Our district has won our region and moved on, and so you have to, like we talked about before, you just expect every week that it's going to be a battle, and you got to prepare for that. And a lot of familiar guys and good friends now within the district, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it always feels like it could be throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded to get these non-district games. How has that gone for you guys so far?
Yeah, it's scheduling non-district games. You just kind of reach out and scramble a little bit and try to find people that are in your area. Sometimes you have to reach out and go a little bit farther. There's a lot of really good teams in the area, so you just you contact people, come up here and shake some hands and see a lot of folks that you're familiar with, and just kind of go from there. And I think the toughest thing is waiting and figure out your home and away and getting all those things settled.
Yeah, you talk about being able to be good friends with a lot of the coaches in the district now, having another 2 seasons with them. Just talk about that relationship that all these coaches in the district have.
Oh, it's a great relationship. I think everybody talks to each other, once a week, twice a week. I know we do. Coach Barnes is over there. We talk a lot. Work with Coach Jones's brother at West Sabine, and talk to the guys at Timpson, Hemphill. Who am I leaving out? I don't know, but we all get together and talk, and it's a little bit different with our basketball districts being split up, but we get together and hang out before games or after games and talk to each other, and so it's just a really good relationship that we have within our district.
Yeah, and then looking at some of these non-district games, what are you looking for in some of these teams? I know it seems to be a common theme throughout East Texas, but especially in the district, to want to play teams that are classifications above, going into 3A D2, 3A D1, to try and stay on par, better than what district play is going to have for you guys. Kind of what are you guys looking for in district and non-district teams?
Yeah, I think you have to prepare for our district schedule, and you have to play some of those schools, and our district gets a lot of respect in the area, and so you definitely want to play competition that'll get you prepared for district. That way you're not behind once you get there. I think that's happened before in the past, and so we just try to do a good job of playing opponents that are going to prepare us for our tough district.
All right, that's all I've got, Coach. That's Coach Wallace with the Shelbyville Dragons. Really tough 2A district in 2A D2, or excuse me, no, not 2A D2, 2A D1. I forget the district name, but albeit really tough district out there with the state runner-up here in Joaquin alongside San Augustine as well. Coach Wallace, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, so what Ryan was trying to say there is 12 2A Division I. I got you, buddy. Don't worry, I got you. But it's the same district, right? And we talked about that. So we did get an interesting comment. Appreciate the comment on East Texas Now. Talking about the region splits, Colton, and that's something that we haven't really dove into, but it's kind of it works for this district and these regions here. So let's go ahead and dive into it. 7 4A Division II. 7 4A Division II. This one has one of our East Texas teams going west up to play Dallas area schools. The Wills Point Tigers, they're going to be in a district with Bonham, Farmersville, North Lamar, Quinlan Ford, and Sunnyvale. Colton, I don't hate that for Wills Point. I think it makes a little more sense, again, for them to go west as opposed to coming to East Texas.
It does, and I'm looking at their district from last year. Last year they played Sunnyvale. They played Quinlan Ford. And I think those are the only 2 that carry over from last year's district. Canton, we haven't gotten to their district yet.
They're coming.
I'm ready to see what happens with them now that I see what happened with Wills Point. It does make sense that trip to Bonham is a little bit of a drive.
Farmersville too.
Farmersville. So I don't hate it though. Like Wills Point, they are the fringe. They are right there, the western side of Van Zandt County.
This is a tough district though, because Farmersville, I believe they were putting up tons of points last year. Like they had an explosive offense. Sunnyvale was really good last season. Quinlan Ford was a good football team. It's a tough district for Wills Point though, but I think they can get into it. All right, Hannah, we've already brought this one up, but we're going to go back to it. 8-4A Division II, just real quickly with the Carthage, Center, Gilmer, Spring Hill, Pittsburgh, Pleasant Grove. And to Jack's point in the chat, Carthage is now in Region 2, where as opposed to the past couple of years, they've been in Region 3. So this creates different matchups, because that's what we were talking about, why these teams were, we could see at state these matchups of these teams because they're in different regions. Same thing here. Carthage is now in Region 2, which means just kind of looking at the teams in the region, you have teams like, honestly, Colton, outside of the teams in their own district, I think it's actually easier for Carthage in Region 2, because you have that district we just talked about with Wills Point, all those schools. You have Gainesville, Crum, Lake Worth, Ponder, Sanger, Van Alstyne, Glen Rose, Hillsborough, Kemp, Uplift, Hampton Prep, and Venus. That's your Region 2 schools.
Yeah.
So I think your region winner is coming out of District 8, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, I have to agree there. Just looking at that's a really good draw for Carthage coming over to Region 2. We haven't made it over to Region 3 teams yet. We're going to get to those in a second. But yeah, Region 2 and even Region 1, you have Brock over in Region 1.
Now that's the state semifinal matchup. So Region 2 will play Region 1 in the state semifinal.
Exactly. So looking at Region 1 and Region 2, you got to like the chances for what District 8 has coming out of there.
Yeah, I think your state finalist making it to the state games coming out of District 8, I think. So let's go to 9-4A Division 2. This is the first district in Region 3.
Flipping to the other side of the bracket.
And this is where it gets interesting, Colton. So this is the one that I was talking about earlier, that feels like a random team thrown in there. You have
Very much so.
Athens, Brownsboro, Canton, Rusk, Van. I think that's a good district.
Yeah, that is, right? Yeah.
And then they threw the Madisonville Mustangs in there. And Colton, where exactly, I think you're Googling that, where exactly is Madisonville at?
Madison County. That
tells me nothing.
It is between Centersville and Huntsville. It is north of Huntsville on I-45.
Okay, so Athens, that's not a terrible trip. I guess Rusk, that isn't a terrible trip either. Van, Brownsboro, Canton. I mean, those, I guess it's not too bad.
So since we're talking about Canton and Van, let me just see. I'm doing a quick Google search.
I think Canton would probably be the farthest one.
Canton, that's a 2-hour, 17-minute drive. That is 130 miles one way.
On a yellow dog. That is. So that's why Madisonville kind of feels like the random school in this bunch. But Madisonville is a very good football team, which makes this district interesting. We talked about Athens. They had a great season last year, historic season.
Great season.
Brownsboro was down. Canton had a really good year. Their defense was lights out with Coach Regal. Rusk had a down year, but they're working their way back with Coach Welch. Van, Coach Moffitt, the Vandals are always going to be there.
They're always consistent.
We had Van Athens in the first round 2 years ago. So these teams are familiar with each other. I'm glad they put Van and Canton back in the same district.
Me too.
That makes me happy.
Yes.
as a person that played those schools growing up, that makes me happy and makes the most sense. But I think this is going to be a fun district. Van, Brownsboro don't like each other. Van and Canton don't like each other. There's going to be some physical football games in this district. I think it's a good one. Then we have one Deep East Texas team in 10-4A Division 2. We'll talk about that real quick. It is the Jasper Bulldogs. They're with Hampshire, Fannett, Hardin Jefferson, Shepherd, Silsby, and West Orange Stark. And Colton, West Orange Stark is who Carthage beat in the state game last year. So you have a state finalist in that district. Jasper had a rough year last year. They were down a little bit, but I think they'll get things turned around.
And nothing changes out of this district other than dropping out Cleveland Tarkington. I believe that's the only change.
Because they dropped down to 3A. So that is why they dropped out of this district. And speaking of 3A, let's go ahead and go there now, Hannah. We'll go to 7-3A Division 2. 7-3A Division 1.
And this is one, Kyle, that personally, being from Mineola, I was curious to see if any changes happen here. And
not one.
Not one change.
Nope.
We talked about what happens to Malakoff. Do
Yeah.
they move back out west? Do we see them go towards the Dallas area? Because that would make sense if there was a change.
Travel-wise.
And, the same thing could have been said for Eustis. And then Commerce. Could they have maybe gone up to, a more northern, western part of the area? But no, they stay right there to defend their district title.
When you look at the other districts in the region, it makes the most sense to put these schools in this district. Like Commerce makes the most sense right here because you wouldn't want them, like you already have all these are even districts pretty much. You know what I mean? Like even size and all that. So I think this is going to be another fun district. I think, Eustis has been struggling a lot, but Malakoff coming off state titles not too long ago. Mineola had a state championship in 2016. Mount Vernon.
They're going to have a new head coach, too.
Yeah, exactly. Mineola will, yeah. Mount Vernon, they're going to be competitive. Reigns at Coach Oaks over there trying to get the ship righted. Winsboro is Coach Finney. What are they going to do next year? And then Commerce with the defending district champions. So,
and, not necessarily an East Texas team that we usually cover, but they were one of the surprises last year of all of our districts, just the way they were able to dominate.
They dominated Winsboro, and I think that's when we kind of took notice, like, okay, this Commerce team is for real.
They're for real.
So they did really well. And then let's move now to who they will be playing in the first round of the playoffs, District 8 3A Division 1, and that didn't change either, other than Jefferson dropped out because they moved to Division 2. But other than that, this is the exact same district: Atlanta, Gladewater, Sabine, Tatum, White Oak, and Liberty Yellow.
I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, Gladewater had a great first year under Coach Lewis.
Yeah.
They're set up to build upon what they did last year for the next 2 years. And, they have familiarity with these teams. Like you said, I mean, the only loss is Jefferson, which was, one of the more competitive teams in the district.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So that is District 8 3A Division 1. Moving over into Region 3 at 9 3A Division 1, and that's basically the same district again. A lot of familiarity here. I know Trinity, I think, got moved into there, but you still have Crockett, Diboll, Huntington, Westwood, and Fairfield, and now Trinity moved in there. Trinity is an impressive team. Colton, they were a Division 2 last year, so they moved up. But if you remember, they were one of the teams at State 7-on-7. Trinity Tigers were.
You were down there covering that.
So they have and they had a decent year last year. So that's going to be interesting to put those in. You got KV and Bryant, Westwood. I think they're still the favorites. I know they were kind of down last year, but
they didn't finish. They didn't have the best finish to the season.
But they'll have the best player in the district. So
easily have the best player in the district. KV and Bryant. Chris Carter, was he a senior this year? Or is he coming back next year? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think they lose a lot, but you still have KB in there. And Caden Bryant, his younger brother, I don't know if he plays football or not. I know he's a great hooper though. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then we have just a couple of teams in District 10 3A Division 1. That's the district we talked about. Tarkington, this is where they moved to.
Yeah.
So Kirbyville, Anahuac, Boona, Cleveland, Tarkington, Cold Spring, Oakhurst, East Chambers, Orangefield. Those are your 10 3A Division 1 teams. So moving now to Division 2, Hannah. And this
is one that we talked about, Kyle.
Yeah.
And this district specifically, because there's been history with Edgewood, I'll just say with Edgewood in one of these teams, of what UIL could go and separate.
Sorry.
They could go any way with where they're put. We've seen in the past where they go west to the DFW area, and the logical pick was to keep them in the area with Grant Saline, especially 10 miles down the road.
Right.
I'm glad that they made that choice to keep them with Grant Saline, Lone Oak, Prairie Land, Harmony, Pierce Chisholm.
Oh, so pop up 8 3A Division 2. 8 3A Division 2. And that is what Colton was talking about there.
Let me make sure I had the right teams. I was looking at the wrong sheet.
No, you do. Harmony, Edgewood, Grant Saline, Lone Oak, Quitman, Chisholm, and Pattonville, Prairie Land. I think it's similar to the district they had. I think it's almost the exact same, Colton.
I think it is.
Looking at, it's the exact
same district. But again, if there were changes going to be made, it was going to be where was Quitman or where was Edgewood going to go?
Yeah, and we found out where they're going. We have a coach standing by. I'm trying to get the right spelling for Hannah here.
So anyway, I can keep talking about this. So Edgewood and Grant Saline both had great years last year. I'm interested to see where they go this year, how that matchup's going to go, how the top of this district's going to go. And then Lone Oak had a really great year last year as well.
They did.
So seeing how the Buffaloes can compete with the top of the district again.
So yeah, I'm with you, and it's always a wonder what is UIL going to do with Edgewood? For years, when we were at the radio station, years they would not put them together. They always sent Edgewood over to play Blooming Grove, Rice, all these other schools.
Right.
I'm so thankful that for the past 6 years now, they've put them in the same district. All right, Hannah. Now we're moving over into Region 3, 9 3A Division 2, District 9 3A Division 2, and this is missing a team that I thought would be in it.
Yeah, we talked about this one.
And
this
we'll talk
is
about
another
that
one we
team
talked about.
Coming up next. But this one kind of stays very similar. Actually, I think it's the exact same. Dangerfield, Hughes Springs, DeKalb, Hooks, New Boston, Queen City, and Redwater. Kind of makes sense in this district, Colton, with the Dangerfield, Hughes Springs, where they're located to go up and play Texarkana area schools, DeKalb, Hooks, New Boston, Queen City, Redwater. I like this district. I think it's going to be a fun one.
I do too. Again, there's one omission to this that we were wondering where this team was going to drop, and I thought the logical pick would have been to have them in this district, just their relation to where New Boston, Queen City, Redwater, those teams towards the Texarkana area.
Yep.
UIL showing, one of their, they thought different.
This is the head scratcher. So let's go ahead and look at 10 3A Division 2, and that is where we find the Jefferson Bulldogs, who we thought would be in that 9 3A Division 2 district with Dangerfield, but instead they get plugged in with ARP, New Diana, West Rusk, Troop, and Winona. Colton, this is going to be a stout Division 2 district.
It is. And I think the reasoning behind this move for Jefferson to join this district is that this district lost Buffalo and Elkhart, which those were two teams that they were the outliers of that district these past 2 seasons.
True. Just
how far south Buffalo, especially Buffalo, but Elkhart were in relation to Troop, ARP, West Rusk, and Winona and New Diana. I think that's why they made this move to have Jefferson here, to make it a 6-team district rather than having 5.
And no disrespect to Elkhart and Buffalo, but I think bringing in a Jefferson only makes this district stronger. I mean, I think this is going to be a tough district to keep up with. All right, let's move to District 11 3A Division 2. 11 3A Division 2. That's where we find the Elks of Elkhart. We were wondering where you talk about Elkhart, Buffalo moving districts. They got dropped into this district with some teams we just talked about with Edgewood, Blooming Grove, Corsicana Mildred, Rice, and Teague. So I think I like this district better for Elkhart and Buffalo. That other district with New Diana, West Rusk, ARC,
there was so much competition at the top that, I mean, that just by being with ARP and Troop especially, but New Diana added in there, there was a lot of competition for all 4 of those playoff spots.
And Mildred moved up because, if you remember, they were in the Frankston district last year. So they moved up to Division 2.
Mildred?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's going to be an interesting district to keep up with, and I think it's good for Elkhart to be in that district. All right, let's move to 12 3A Division 2, where another little interesting teams here. The Woodville Eagles, who were state finalists not too long ago, they're dropped in there with Hardin, Kuntz, New Waverly, Newton, and Warren. Colton, is this similar?
So it's very similar to the past 2 years. You lose Trinity, who was moved up, and then you also Anderson Shiro. Okay. Those are the 2 teams you're losing here. But again, you're still facing Newton. You still have the state finalists from last year that you have to face. But Woodville still, I mean, you still have Luke Babin at quarterback, and you can put him up against any quarterback in all of East Texas, and you're going to be hard pressed to find a better one.
I agree. I think this is going to be a good district. Deep East Texas. It's way down there, but I think it'll be fun to keep up with. All right, Hannah, we're going to go to Conference 2A now. 2A Division 1, and we'll start with District 10 2A Division 1. 10 2A Division 1. Had a little shakeup here. This one looks that's the one we just – oh, no. 10 2A Division 1. We don't have that one? All right. Well, Colton, do you want to try and go get it? And then I'll talk about it until we gets up there. But this district has Alba Golden, Cayuga, Como Picton, Frankston, Hawkins, Kearns, and Price Carlisle. This is an interesting district. They moved Alba Golden and Como Picton into this district. Hawkins, who was in that big 8-team district a year ago, all right, it should be in there now, Hannah. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, that district that Hawkins was in a year ago, there it is. Alba Golden, Cayuga, Como Picton, Frankston, Hawkins, Kearns, Price Carlisle.
This is one call. Whenever we started making these graphics, I yelled out, Hawkins moved out. Hawkins dropping out of that Beckville, Elysian Fields district. I think that's what you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. This is one I was surprised about, where Hawkins is.
So I was
and then,
too.
Sorry, and
Go
then
ahead.
Frankston as well being placed in this district
Well,
with Price Carlisle.
Well, that's the same district from last year, though. Frankston, Carlisle, Cayuga, and Kearns were all in the same district. So those are all familiar opponents. What's weird is Hawkins' inclusion in this. It feels like the random team, right? And I know they're not that far from Alba Golden or Como Picton.
Relative.
Say both of them.
Como Picton.
No, but it is just kind of an interesting district. But I think there's a lot of familiarity here. This is a tough district. Carlisle, with Coach Baker, they are on the up and up. Carlisle is a team to be reckoned with.
They're very competitive last year.
Frankston, Coach Gould, what they did, a historic season last year. Cayuga with Coach McGee, he has them trending in the right direction. Kearns was a tough team last year. This is a tough district.
Como Picton, I mean, they were competitive. They're starting to make some noise. And bouncing back from rough past couple of years. And
they moved from that Rivercrest, Cooper, Honey Grove districts with Alba Golden. So that'll be a fun one to keep up with. Now, the district that Hawkins came from, 11-2A Division I, and this one is another loaded Colton, we need that one again. This one's another loaded district too, with Beckville, Elysian Fields, Union Grove, Harleton, Paul Pewitt, Ore City, and Wascom. Paul Pewitt was in the district with Alba Golden and Como Picton, Cooper, Honey Grove, all them last year. They got moved now to this district where Hawkins dropped out. I guess they kind of took Hawkins' spot in this district, which is a little bit of an interesting – oh, there it is. So Beckville, Elysian Fields, Union Grove, Harleton, Paul Pewitt, Ore City, and Wascom. This district last year was – I believe that was the one that Elysian Fields had that strong start to the season. I'm trying to remember how this one ended up. Who was the district champ last year out of this one? Beckville, Elysian Fields, Wascom.
Give me a second. I can find that
I think
out
it was like a three-way tie at first. I know at one point it was a three-way tie. This was the one that they had. They were battling at the very end just to get into the playoffs. Union Grove, Hawkins, and Harleton were kind of all battling there. So you lose Big Sandy and you lose Hawkins, add in Paul Pewitt, and this is the district you have here. Colton, your thoughts?
Yeah, again, much of the same of what we had last year. You're adding in, like you said, this Omaha Paul Pewitt team that, again, always competitive. Losing Hawkins was one of those, again, kind of surprising that they dropped them out of this district, given that much of it is the same.
Yeah.
Still very competitive district. I think there's still a lot to be fought for here. All four of these playoff spots and their seeding are going to be very competitive.
Before we go to the next district, well, we can pop it back up. 12-2A Division I. That's the one we talked about earlier. We've heard from two coaches of that district. We've heard from Torrey Barnes over at San Augustine, and we've heard from Jared Wallace at Shelbyville. But Garrison, Hemphill, Joaquin, San Augustine, Shelbyville, Timpson, 12-2A Division I. We talked about that earlier. But right now, our KTRE sports director still working hard. Ryan Smith still working hard over there in Kilgore. Let's see if he is it looks like he's ready now. Last year Jacksonville got a new head coach, Monty Stevenson. We got to talk to him here. Not the best year for the Indians last season, but Coach Stevenson back. Now he has culture instilled. Let's hear from Coach Monty Stevenson down there in Kilgore. Ryan, what you got going on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kyle, you're absolutely right here with head coach of the Jacksonville Indians, Mr. Monty Stevenson. Obviously moving down from 5A D2 to 4A D1, moving into the proverbial District of Doom, as we love to call it here. So, Coach, how's your morning been so far?
So far, it's been good. We got our
schedule already lined out, so 9 districts already set up, and got a chance to look at that district of doom that everybody's talking about, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, Coach, and whenever the enrollment numbers had come out initially for UIL, it was kind of expected that you guys were going to move down into 4A D1. Just what was your reaction to that? And then especially today with everything being sort of set in stone with your district schedule.
It's funny you brought that up. So as soon as I saw the numbers, I got on the board and put together my own district. And I was right, so I'm shocked at myself. I'm like, all right, I got every school right. But we're looking forward to it. We knew it was going to be a tough, competitive district, but as a coach and coaching these kids, it's what you want. Because if you can get out of this district, if you look at the region, there's some opportunities there. So that's going to be the selling point to our kids. It is a competitive district. We're just as talented, and we're looking forward to what's ahead of us.
Yeah, and you said that your district, schedule is all fully made out non-district. Who are y'all set to play for these next couple of years?
So week 1, put me on the spot there. Week 1 is Canton. Week 2 is Dallas Pinkston. Week 3 is Bryan Rudder, and then we hit district open up with Pine Tree at home.
Okay, so obviously, talk about the process and getting those teams to be able to set up the schedule this early, because I know a lot of these teams, a lot of coaches I've been talking to have still working out the kinks in non-districts. Yeah. So talk about being able to set up the schedule.
I took some advice from my old AD, Case Wall Ravens. Like, hey, you might want to get started as soon as you got an idea. You going down to Class 4A. So this was been weeks ago before it got to this point. Calling the coaches around Texas, seeing what their availability is, if they had open weeks, and if they did, if it worked out, then let's do it. So for me, it was easier because I started before this even happened.
Yeah, and then, whenever you were, like you said, starting before any of this had been, finalized, talk about what you were looking for in some of these teams, just, scheduling non-district-wise to get you guys prepared for a really tough district.
Sure, you want to have some teams that you're going to have to compete with because you're about to go into that district of doom. So I looked at our schedule, what teams do we need to play that's going to help us compete in this district. So we opened up with Ken. I believe they were 9-2, I think. So it's going to be a solid game. That's week 1. So, we're going to get tested early and looking forward to it.
Yeah, Coach. Well, that's all I've got for you, Coach. Monty Stevenson with the Jacksonville Indians, District of Doom, down to 4A D1. So I appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for taking the time.
Go Indians.
Absolutely. Coach.
Yes, sir.
That's all I've got for you, Kyle.
All right, thanks so much, Ryan. We appreciate you. Coach Monty Stevenson over there with the Jacksonville Indians. And we got a little insight there. He already told us his non-district schedule. Colton, Jacksonville, Canton, week 1.
Jacksonville, Canton, that's a big one.
And,
that's a good one.
They're playing Dallas Pinkston and Bryan Rudder, and then they open up district play with Pine Tree at home. So 14 District 14 2A Division 1. This is an interesting one. It almost slipped through our cracks here.
Yeah,
because we very rarely have teams in Region 4. Like, it's rare.
Super rare.
And we have 3 of them. We have 3 teams in Region 4. Corrigan, Camden, Groveton, and Lovelady. Then you have Centerville, Iola, Jewett, Leon, and Normandy. Lovelady is an interesting one. They're moving up. Bless you. They're moving up from 2A Division 2 into 2A D1. And not only did they get moved up classifications, they got moved to a different region. So new head coach, too. Coach Kirchhoff is now at Falls City, I believe. Bless you. So new head coach down there for Lovelady. Groveton's been down a little bit. Corrigan Camden had a good year last year with Coach Ratliff.
They did.
So it'll be interesting to see what they can kind of do this year in that district. All right. Hannah, we're going to –
I'm still –
it's blowing my mind.
Blown away. Region 4.
All right, let's move to 2A Division 2, and we're going to head into Region 3, where we find at 9 – do you have this one, 9-3A or 9-2A Division 2? We might not have it. Oh, we do? 9-2A Division 2. I doubted you, Colton. I'm so sorry.
Listen, I'm down on myself.
The Cumbie Trojans are our lone East Texas squad up there with Celeste, Collinsville, Ira, Lindsay, and Quinlan Bowles. Did you know that was Ira and not Era? I went to quick story. I went to school with a guy at Kansas Wesleyan that was from this school, and it was 6-man or 1A. So they've grown a little bit, and they're the Era Hornets. Because I said, "You're from Era?" He goes, "Era." I'm like, "Whatever, dude." So
small world.
So yeah, so it's funny. But Cumbie had a really good year last year. They I believe they made the postseason, but they had a really competitive season. I know at one point they were 4-1 in district play. They were battling for a district title. They may have won district. I can't remember for sure, but they're a good football team that's dropping into this district. Quinlan Bowles was in that Alba Golding, Como-Picton, Rivercrest district these past 2 years, so I think that's a good draw for Cumbie.
I think so too. Like you said, a super competitive Trojan team last year. I don't know a whole lot about the rest of the teams in this district.
Me either.
But, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to still compete given the talent that they faced last year, the past 2 seasons.
So I don't know much about these teams either, but my connection would be Collinsville played Overton in the state championship game last year. I knew a kid from Era, and I called a Lindsay and Alba Golden playoff game one time. So that's how I know those schools. All right,
connections.
Let's move to 10 2A Division II, and this is another interesting one. We were wondering what they were going to do with Big Sandy because Big Sandy dropped from 2AD1 to 2AD2. We didn't know if they would go north, if they would go south. They sent them north.
I was thinking they were going to go south. I thought they would play the Mount Enterprises, the Altos, the Overtons of the world, with the chance that they could be looped into this district with Linden Kildare and Clarksville, Maud, Simsbury.
And what's interesting about this one, Colton, is this district basically lost Cumbie and Celeste and added Big Sandy. Because this was the district last year. Linden Kildare, you had Simsbury in there, you had Detroit, you had Maud, you had Clarksville, and then Cumbie was in this Cumbie and Celeste were in this district last year. So you drop those two and you add in Big Sandy. I think this is a win for Big Sandy.
Travel-wise, this is absolutely a win.
Well, travel-wise and team-wise. Again, nothing against these schools, but when you look at the district that they just came from with the Beckvilles, Elysian Fields, Wascoms, Union Grove, Harltons.
It was a battle.
You don't have those teams in this district. Not saying it's an easy district, but I think it'll be a more competitive district for Big Sandy. Absolutely. So I think that's a good win for them, and Linden Kildare also in that district up there as well. All right, let's go to 11 2A Division II. This is where we thought Big Sandy might go, but they did not. 11 2A Division II. We find Alto, Cushing, Grapeland, Crossroads, Mount Enterprise, Overton, and Tenaha. The interesting one in here, Colton, is that obviously we lost Lovelady because they moved up to D1, and then they brought Crossroads over. I'm trying to remember what district Crossroads was in last year. I believe they were in that – yeah, they were in the 8-2A D1 with Frankston, Mildred, Carlisle, so they dropped down to D2. Okay. So this one's going to be a fun district. I think you got Coach Ponder, who was formerly at Mount Enterprise. He's now at Alto. Cushing, you got Grapeland and Coach Wood. Crossroads, Mount Enterprise, who's going to be their head coach. No more Kagan Ash. What will they look like? Overton with Coach Laymans and all the athletes they have there. Tenaha, bringing back Terry Ward, who won a state title with the Tigers in 2011. He's back. This is going to be a fun district to keep up with.
It really is. And, again, like you said, Crossroads is the addition that, kind of not shocking or surprising. You could expect that they would make this move. But it's still one of those. That's the outlier of when you're looking just geographically of where these teams are.
Yeah, Crossroads. Were you talking about Crossroads?
Yeah.
Yeah, Crossroads is way out there. So when we did the Malakoff-Winsboro game, and I drove to Malakoff, and I saw Crossroads, I said, this is a long way out here. So now you're talking – think about, if you don't mind, can you do Malakoff to Tenaha?
Malakoff to Tenaha.
Because Tenaha is way down there in Shelby County. Crossroads is over in Henderson County. That's a long travel on a Friday night to play a football game.
So Tenaha from Malakoff.
1 hour.
You know what? I'd one better. I want to do Crossroads.
That's
Crossroads.
Not bad, honestly. We just talked about a team.
2 hours, 5-minute drive, 116 miles one way.
So we just talked about earlier the school. I forget which school we were talking about now. We've talked about so many, but that was having a 2 hour and 17-minute trip. Madisonville, that's what it was. Madisonville.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unfortunately, with some of these districts, that's the norm. Like an hour and a half, 2 hours is the norm.
Yeah, and it's one of those kind of like you have the Lufkins and the Tyler Highs of the world, where I was telling Libby about this earlier. They're kind of the outliers. That you don't have a lot of Lufkin's and Tyler's, where they're as big as they are in our area. That like their placement is specifically a product of how big the school is, and where they're placed. I think you have kind of the similar thing here, where Crossroads, I mean, you don't have a lot of schools that fall within the 2A Division II classification that are near them. Everyone else, like Malakoff, they're up to 3A. They're 3A Division I. You know, the Athens, the schools there in Henderson County, and even Vincent County and Anderson County in that respective area of East Texas, you don't have a lot of schools that fall within the 2A Division II. So it's just kind of understood you're going to have to travel.
I wonder, because I'm looking at District 8 for 2AD2, and that's got Crawford and Mart and teams like that. I wonder if that would be a similar type of trek for Crossroads to get there, because you're right. Crossroads is in that area where it's in an area and a conference where it's hard to place them.
Yeah. So just looking to Mart from Crossroads ISD is an hour 27 minutes. It's 82 miles.
It's closer.
It is closer. So let's see.
So I think they could have, because that's a district with Crawford, Frost, Hubbard, Mart, Meridian, Santo, and Wortham.
So Crawford, you're still looking at 116 miles, an hour 58 minutes on the other side of Waco. So
there's a tough spot. They're in a tough spot.
They're really one of those schools that's kind of in the middle of, we could put them over here in the east, we could put them over here to the west. Kind of like how we see with the Wills Points, the Edgewoods of the world, where these boundary teams, they could really fall, you know, within, you know, either side of whichever way UIL wants to go in a given year.
And let's look at our last district in 2A Division II. It'll be 12 2A Division II. And this is Colemanville, Evadale, West Sabine, Deweyville, Sabine Pass, West Hardin, and Whole Diaceta. I don't know almost anything about these schools. I do know West Sabine had a good year last year.
They had a really great year last year.
They were very competitive, and I think they made I don't know if they made a run, but I know they were undefeated. Sabine Pass had to forfeit all their games last year. So I don't know.
Nothing changes about this district. Like, this district's still the same from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, it is.
There's no change here. So it's going to be more of the same with this district. You know, can the teams in the lower part of the district, can they compete? Can they compete with the West Sabines, the Deweyvilles of what we faced, what we saw last year? That's going to be the big question with this district, since no one dropped out and no one came in.
We have a person in the chat asking a question. They asked about Elkhart. Elkhart is in District 11 3A Division 2. 11 3A Division 2 with Blooming Grove, Buffalo, Mildred, Rice, and Teague. That's Corsicana, Mildred. And so that's Elkhart, Blooming Grove, Buffalo, Mildred, Rice, and Teague.
And again, I think we talked about this earlier. You know, them dropping out of that troop, our new Diana district, this was a very good move, I think, by the UIL in Elkhart's favor. You know, they still play Buffalo. They get Mildred and that Rice and Teague. Teague coming from the Westwood district last year. This is a good district move, I think. You know, for Elkhart, they got a really good draw here from the UIL, in my opinion, moving them. Making with this alignment of 11-3A D2.
So we have another chat here, and we appreciate you chatting with us, and you have up till 11 o'clock to chat with us.
Yeah, discussion.
But they said, does Brownsboro seem misplaced? By location, they fit. I don't think they seem misplaced. I think Brownsboro being in a district with Athens, Canton, Rusk, and Van, it's similar to what they've been in the past.
That's similar to what they had in the past, and they don't play Carthage. They don't have to travel all the way to Panola County to play Carthage.
Or Center or teams like that. So I think this is better for them. The one that seems out of place in this district to me,
up, Hannah?
Yeah, it's a 9-3A or 9-4A Division 2. 9-4A Division 2. To me, the team that seems misplaced here is Madisonville. I think the other schools all seem normal.
Geographically, this is outside of Madisonville, a very well put district. Brownsboro, again, we talked about, had a down year last year, but we've seen pretty good Brownsboro Bear teams. Like, I mean, any team, any year can catch fire.
And Brownsboro's a tough place to play. Like, David Barber always talks about it all the time. Like, there is something about Brownsboro
it's
where
right off
weird
the highway.
things
You're
happen.
Kicking onto Highway 31.
Weird things happen in Brownsboro, so it is a tough place to play. But yeah, so keep the questions coming. But we're gonna go to 1A. To our 1A.
Six-man ball.
That's right, 6-man football. Have you ever, well, you don't have a mic, so I can't ask you this directly, but do you even know what 6-man football is? Okay, so, but it's 6-man that the center that snaps the ball is eligible to go out for a pass. It's a 50-yard field?
No,
it's an 80-yard field, I believe, instead of a 100-yard. Anyway, it is awesome. So
it's basketball on a football field.
Track basketball on a football field. But let's start with 12 1A Division 1. 12 1A Division 1. That is where we find a team that had to shut their season down last year for varsity. The Fruitvale Bobcats, they're in their district with Campbell, St. Joy, and Savoy. We've grown up around Fruitvale, so we know that community in that area. I hope, I love the fact that the junior high level has still been having the numbers show up and still having people there. The problem with Fruitvale has been they're low on numbers, and so they've either been in a district where they haven't been able to compete because of the lack of numbers, or like last year, they get injuries and illness, and you don't have enough players. So,
mistake me, if I'm mistaken, Kyle, correct me. A couple of years ago, and again, I think it's when we were working the radio station, they were actually in a 2A. They played an outlaw 6-man schedule that wasn't UIL sanctioned because of numbers, where by UIL enrollment, they should have been an 11-man team, but football team, they didn't have show up.
And not only that, it's hard to, when you've played 6-man for so long, how do you field an 11-man team now? You've changed all that. But yeah, I just hope that Fruitvale is able to get some kids out there and to be competitive. I think it's a competitive district. I don't know a lot about these 6-man schools, but I'm just hoping that Fruitvale can get their kids out there and get to play.
Absolutely.
13 1A Division 1. District 13 1A Division 1.
This is
the Chester Yellow
small
Jackets.
But competitive district.
Yeah, very much so. The Chester Yellow Jackets, Union Hill, Leverett Chapel, and Burkeville. And now Chester had a really good season last year. They were undefeated at district. I think they won that district last year. Union Hill is a perennial state favorite year in and year out. Like
Union crop in 6-man East Texas 6-man ball.
Yes, if you're talking 6-man football in East Texas, Union Hill is the creme de la creme of the 6-man. But Union Hill in that district with Chester, and then Leverett Chapel, who has had really good seasons in 6-man before. This is going to be a fun district, and what's interesting about this is Union Hill and Leverett Chapel were in that district with St. Joe, Campbell, and Savoy last year.
Who's now with
Fruitvale. Yeah.
So there's still a lot of similarity with and continuity with these the 6-man districts.
And 1A Division 2, rounding out the last of our districts here for football. It'll be District 14 1A Division 2. And that is, that's the right one, sorry. That is Trinidad, Bynum, Fannondale, Mount Calm, and Oakwood. Trinidad, I know we talked a couple of years ago to their head coach, and he was real energetic about the season and what was getting going. This is an interesting thing because there's usually just 4 teams in these districts, but now they're getting a good 5-team district here.
By 6-man standards, this is
a big district,
a large district. Yeah. This is Lufkin's district of 1A.
And now Oakwood and Mount Calm had some good years last year. Trinidad Bynum didn't have the best seasons. Fannondale, not sure how they did last year, but this will be a fun one to keep up with. And our last district we're going to talk about is District 15 1A Division 2, and that is where we find Apple Springs, Buckholtz, Calvert, and High Island.
I'm kind of surprised that they split Chester and Apple Springs, just given their proximity to each other. I mean, I know Chester is
they're upper
Division 1. That makes sense now.
You talked yourself through.
I talked myself. But dropping down from Division 1 to Division 2 for Apple Springs is a big deal, though.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Colton. So we've gone through all the districts here and all the regions. What are your kind of overarching thoughts as you look back at it?
We had a lot of questions coming into it. Again, what would the big ones were Jacksonville, where were they going to be placed? Were they going to make the logical choice and put Bullard and Jacksonville into our district of doom? What was going to happen with Lufkin? Were they going to have another situation where they did 2 years ago, where we were talking about them joining Tyler and the DFW teams, or were they going to send them south and make, the choice that was ultimately made whenever they made the appeal? And that's what they did. And, just by proxy of, like we talked about, their size and location, not a whole lot of 5A teams.
Yeah.
And, for Lufkin to play here in East Texas, they're going to have to make a drive. But all in all, like Jefferson, seeing what happened with them, I was surprised that they looped them in with Art Troop, New Diana. I thought they were going to make the jump over with, Redwater, New Boston, Queen City, Hugh Springs, that district. There's not a whole lot of head scratching. The biggest one I think is the Madisonville joining that district with Van and Canton.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think there were really good draws for, the realignment favored a lot of East Texas teams. There's not a whole lot of questionable decisions. There's not any that stands out as, oh my gosh, I can't believe the UIL made this decision. Like, for all East Texas, it's pretty cut and dry of what decisions there were.
I think the one that sticks out to me is what they did in Division II with Carthage, Gilmer, and Pleasant Grove, putting them all in the same district. Like, that is crazy, because you're going to have a 3 seed out of there that is a potential state champion. And I mean, that is – so I think that's interesting. I'm with you on the Madisonville thing. They feel so out of place in that district. I think Lufkin – I don't love it only having 2 non-district games, especially – well, it's not his first year, but still I think Absec's still trying to get his culture and kind of his thing going.
Yeah.
And you want those non-district games to build that.
You have – you go from Coach Outlaw to Coach Quick, who coached under Coach Outlaw.
Right.
So for so long you have that outlaw culture, that Coach Outlaw culture at Lufkin, and – Coach Quick retires, and we talked about this when the coaching search was going on, and we talked with Coach Early, who was over at Valdosta State. He wanted to see an outlaw guy, come in, and so when they make this hire of someone who isn't from that John Outlaw coaching tree, it's going to be a little bit of a culture shock just from what Lufkin has had for so many years to now. I mean, it's going to take more than a year for Coach Absec to really build his culture and what he wants to do with the Lufkin Panther football team. So, again.
And they were still a playoff team.
They were still a playoff team, absolutely. Being in a 9-team district, I haven't had a chance to look, especially at the 6A ranks, the big 5A ranks. How many 9-team districts are there? Because, I mean, this really feels like an outlier from what we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I mean, there can't be many. I mean, maybe
the Frisco probably has all their schools in one district, which is over 9, it feels like.
So, that district, seeing what's going to happen with that district and Lufkin, all the travel, in Coach Absec's second year, that's going to be kind of a big one for me.
In 6A, there's a lot of 9-team districts. It's commonplace in 6A. Like, I'm looking at District 9, Garland, Lakeview Centennial, Garland Rowlett, Garland Saxe, North Garland, South Garland, Wiley East. there's a ton of them in.
So
in 6A.
that makes sense then on why they did that here in 5A Division 1.
Yeah.
Because again, you have these group of teams that geographically don't make a whole lot of sense, but again, they geographically don't make a whole lot of sense for any decision that's made. It's one of those that it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other where you're going to be placed.
It worked out well when Lufkin, Tyler, Legacy, Longview were all the same size, because then you just lump them all together.
Right.
And there's maybe throw in a couple of Dallas schools, then you got them all together. But now with Lufkin and Tyler being D1, 5A D1, Longview and Legacy being 6A,
Yeah.
And then your White Houses, Hallsville, Mount Pleasance, they're all D2.
Nacogdoches,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're all D2. So you don't have any time. You don't have anybody around you. You're forced to go south or you're forced to go west.
Yeah.
And there's just not a good option.
Yeah,
So
it's either the Golden Triangle or DFW.
what I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Out of all these districts that we just went through, who do you think will be our district of doom? Obviously, we won't know till later, but probably August. But who do you think will be our district of doom?
I mean, you got to start with, if you're talking about district of doom, you got to start with our district of doom of last year. And, a couple of changes being made there where you lose Maybank, who, again, just with how loaded that district was, they were at the bottom of the district. They were towards the bottom of the district. But then you add the two schools that made the most sense whenever we were talking about it, of making it an 8-team district and Bullard jumping up to 4A Division I and Jacksonville jumping down from 5A Division II. It makes sense that you still have the schools, though, of Kilgore, Lindale, Henderson, Pine Tree.
That's still going to be a tough
Chapel
district.
Hill. That's still a very tough district, and even more competitive with a Jacksonville Indian team that's in their second year under Coach Stevenson, who you absolutely love. After you talked to him last year,
I wanted to run through a wall for him last year.
You're ready to run through a wall. I remember you texting me right after that interview, just raving about Coach Stevenson and the kind of coach that he is.
And I was
there
disappointed.
In Jacksonville.
I was disappointed how it went last year, but I think.
But he's the type of coach. That's the type of coach you need at a place like Jacksonville, who, over the past couple of years, who's historically they've been a great program. Everything around Jacksonville, Tomato Bowl, just all their legacy that they have for the past couple of years, they've been on the downward spiral. You need a coach like Coach Stevenson who can rally the troops, who can really rally a locker room together to turn a program around, and that's not going to be done in a single year.
No.
And it may take a couple of years for them to really compete for the playoff spot, and even before you start talking about district title.
They were more competitive last year, though.
They were more competitive last year. And Bullard, they were a competitive team. They're a solid team who joins this district of doom. That they're definitely going to be a consideration for district of doom. A sneaky one that I think, well, not really. I'll get to that one in a second. There's two more I want to talk about. Carthage-Gilmer District with Pleasant Grove. That's another one. Can we pull that one up? Do you have that one off the top of your head, KO?
4A D2, I think.
8-4A D2, I believe it is, Hannah. This district, Carthage, Center, Gilmer, Spring Hill, Pittsburgh, Pleasant Grove. All of those teams have the momentum going in that they could be a playoff team. Carthage and Pittsburgh were a round one matchup last year where throughout the playoffs, you're like, man, this Carthage team, what's going on with their defense? It all started in that playoff run with the game against Pittsburgh. They were able to put up, I believe, 35 points, I believe.
Yeah, they were toe-to-toe with them at half, but then Carthage pulled away. But, again, Carthage had some injuries on defense because obviously we saw them at state. The defense was just fine.
Yeah, and then, the center team, what's going to happen with Coach Alvarez there, and then Pleasant Grove, that's going to be a huge question after losing a coach like Coach Gibson.
Yeah, but at least they hired on staff. So the person they hired, Coach Darby, he's been there with the team. He knows the team. I believe he was the defensive coordinator, so he's familiar with them.
And the last district I want to talk about, while we're talking about District of Doom, it's going to be a 3A Division II, and it's the one we talked about a little bit with Jacksonville, 10 3A Division II. ARP, New Diana, Jefferson, West Rusk, Troop, Winona.
Yeah.
That is a gauntlet.
This is a tough district.
Troop and ARP, we know what happened last year. We kept up with them very well. A couple of years ago, New Diana had one of the best offenses, not only in East Texas, but in the state through all divisions. And then you add a Jefferson team who just a couple of years ago, I believe they were district champs in 3A Division I.
And you can't count out West Rusk, who I believe beat Gladewater, right, last year by 1 point.
Absolutely.
And Gladewater was a district champ.
And Winona, they can be a scrappy team. We've seen in the past, this Winona team has a lot of potential. Top to bottom, this is a really good district. You're going to have a couple of teams out of this district who aren't going to make the playoffs.
That's a sneaky one. I like that. I like that. I like that one as a potential one.